point our perspective on as far as this topic is concerned. On the other hand, the LGBT or lesbians, gay, bisexual, and transgender community also alleges being discriminated against and stigmatized. The law also seeks to protect all citizens regardless of race, gender, faith, or sexual orientation from being discriminated against. So, the big question is, how do we all get along without infringing on the law and on each other's civil liberties? To help us look at this above topic and more in this program will be our guest right in the studio, Bishop Simon Babs of the End Time Revival Message. Will you please say hello to our listeners, Bishop Simon Babs?
Hello.
All right. Good to have you. It's been a while. The last time you were on the show was maybe about more than 2 years ago.
Yes, I should think so.
It's good to have you back. Well, the other guests are on the way, so we're going to get started anyhow, and they will join us as we proceed. As we proceed, ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to give us a call on the studio line 020-737-1619. Your comments are very, very much welcome, and feel free to call as we proceed. Okay, the lines are open, that is to say. Let's start, Bishop Babs, by telling, let's try and look at what really a stigma is. What, in your opinion, is a stigma and a taboo, especially in the context of sexual diversity? Let's take it one by one.
Okay. Stigma is normally a benchmark they placed on slaves.
Okay.
To be identified with the owners.
Yeah.
And or a mark of shame of anything that is termed bad.
Yeah.
And therefore, also a taboo is anything forbidden by culture or society in which one finds himself.
Okay.
And therefore, to stigmatize someone with sexual diversity means they are doing something that the society in which they live do not appreciate.
Accept, okay. And therefore they become stigmatized.
Yeah.
They're looked upon as not fit or disgraceful or object of shame, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. That is what it comes to. That they are doing something that the society actually don't appreciate.
Yes. I believe you're aware of the surge of this more like a move or can I say a more coming out, if you like, of the LGBT community. I mean, they become more assertive because the state or the authorities or the world, for that matter, it's giving them more of a say. So, looking at stigmas, Stephanie, welcome.
Yes, good morning, Reverend Larry.
Thank you. It's good to have you again. That's Bishop Simon Babs. Yes. Stephanie, of course, let me quickly introduce you. Stephanie is a radio program maker also here in Razo. Are you a part of Simpler Project?
Yes, Simpler Project is a project of my friend Marlon Reina.
Okay.
And I work sometimes with him on certain types of projects that he has. Excuse me.
Yeah.
So today Marlon cannot be present because he's in the Caribbean. He's in Curacao, doing also other types of projects.
Okay.
So I've received the invitation from Reverend Helen to come and talk about the stigma.
Okay, but so what is your own organization? Are you part of a particular
Yes,
organization?
I'm part of the foundation that's Stichting. That means Stichting Sabana.
Sabana, oh yes. Sabana.
Sabana, that means Strategisch Beraad Amsterdam Southeast. That's a connection That means
yes,
it's a connection to connect all the Amsterdammers and also the Curaçao people. They knew them Antonianen. Sorry, but now you have to say Caribbean Amsterdammer.
Okay.
Also the Arubanen, to participate more in the community and also to show them how they have to do certain things if they're stuck with certain types of questions or the culture, so they can always call Sabana or participate in the programs that Sabana has.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you for that introduction. We before you walked in, we're looking at the what a definition of what stigma and taboo is, especially in the context of sexual diversity. So Bishop Babja had just given the general definition. Stigma being something, a mark or attitude or something that society generally does not approve of. Then it's called a stigma, and a taboo is something that people are forbidden to talk about.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is your take on that? Do you agree with that definition, or you want to add something to it?
I think what do I want to add to that? That also has to do with the culture. Maybe that's something that's missing in taboo or stigma.
Yeah.
Because culture, there's some people that due to their culture, they behave and act in certain ways. And then you can connect that as a taboo because it's let's say in a cultural family, that means that example, a mother, she educates her children on a certain type of way, and the children leave the house and go outside and they behave different, and so they be acting more sexually and more sexy, and in the house they don't do that. And because in the house they don't talk about that, so the mother doesn't give them education based on sexual things, and they go outside and then they act all sexy because they get that information at school. So that's a taboo, I think.
In the family.
In the family. So that's a cultural issue, I think.
Absolutely. You've said it very well, very well, very well. I mean, we know right now there's, like I was saying, there's like a move. I mean, those who are from the lesbian, gay, and bisexual and transgender community are having more liberty to be themselves. And also legally there is some kind of protection guaranteeing their welfare and their well-being. All over the world, you know, it's a trend. So right now, what would you say about it? Would you say the stigma is being taken away and the taboo is getting broken, or regarding sexual diversity? Bishop, what would you say?
Of course, from my standpoint of view as a minister, Scripture tells us that there will come a time when they will call good evil and evil good.
Okay.
And so we are in that period now. And I don't have much to say because it is the law that is supporting them to go that far. So I don't think there is anything anymore anybody can say about it.
Now, I have asked this question before, but maybe you have been here as a minister. Let me ask you. What do you believe that people are born to be lesbian or to be homosexual?
I believe God doesn't make mistakes. Because if you are born a boy, you remain a boy and becomes a man. And if you are born a girl, you remain a girl until you become a woman. And there's no other way. You cannot say you were born a man, but you want to be a woman.
Okay.
That is against God's rule.
Okay, so you believe that everything that happens in nature or what God makes is perfect?
Yes,
and
that's what Genesis says.
Okay.
That everything that God was very
that is true. That is according to what we know scripturally. But given what we see today, you know, boys feeling like they are women inside and women feeling like they are men inside, what does that make you feel or think? Can you quickly give your opinion on that before I give the word to Stephanie?
Okay, I think it's a breach of God's natural law.
You believe that people are, you know, choosing to live that way?
Yeah, they have chosen to live that way. I believe They have chosen to live that way because God never makes mistakes, like I said from the beginning. He never makes mistakes. Everything he did in the beginning, he said, was very good. That's why I believe it's an excellent creation that God has given to us.
Okay. Now, Stephanie, you heard it. I know. I'm sure you have a reaction on that. Yes, I'm sure you have a. Let's hear you out.
Okay. First, what the Reverend said, God doesn't make mistakes. I truly believe in that. God knows what He does.
Yes.
What He's doing, and He chooses the ones to do what they want to do.
Yes.
But I also believe that I think since the beginning of something, that's what happened in the table by the last dinner. God knows already that Judah was going to betray him. So I think God doesn't make mistakes, as He chooses to make straight people, and He chooses also to make the people that are gay and lesbian and so homosexual people.
Yeah.
But I have also looked at a documentary on TV a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Then, okay, it's what the Reverend said, that God doesn't make mistakes. Does He, when somebody is conceiving a child, of making a baby, the first 3 months something happens. And that's the thing, that the hormones get a little bit confused or verschillend. Verschillend means
different, yeah.
Or something happens to the hormones, and then what God said, okay, this is a boy and that's a girl, and so it's mentally. So it's what God has said, yes, this is, you're going to get a boy, but behind that, something happened during the 3 months of pregnancy, because they always say the first 3 months, that's the most crucial months.
Yeah.
That's how the child is going to be programmed, if he's going to be a healthy child, or if he's going to be a child that can function very good, or if he's going to be a child that cannot do good with numbers. There's child that can know language. There's child that are that's all the new sicknesses that are now, everything, they have a name now. Before we didn't know what had names. Because now everything has a name.
Yes.
So that's the thing of the first 3 months. But I think also that God has known since the beginning who is going to be what, and who's going to be a sinner, who's going to be this, who's going to be that.
Yes.
Just the way He knew that Judah was going to betray him.
Okay, hold it right there. Now, Bishop, can you react on what Stephanie just said? What do you think of what she said?
Okay, I can't refute what she said, because if he says God knows that this one will become this, that actually I agree with that.
Yes.
But He doesn't create that person to be so. That individual has chosen to live that life. That I agree.
Okay, but the point he's making is that there is something happens in the formative process of a child, biologically. I cannot substantiate that. I've not read the article. I don't know how solid that the finding is, but it's possible that certain things are settled during the formative development of a fetus in the womb of the mother. But when it comes to the issue of sexuality, it's hard to prove. I mean, Stephanie, you've said something I've never heard before, actually. When it comes to the issue of sexuality, is that also determined at that point in time? I really don't know. I mean, I wouldn't dare to say, because I don't have the facts to prove that. It's something to think about. But she said, I said, this girl will make a good preacher. He said God knew that Judas was going to betray Jesus, and yet He allowed him to be created and born just for that. And the scripture actually does say that, the Son of Man will be betrayed by somebody, who is set up for that purpose. Now, to stretch that argument to the area of sexual diversity, that really, I know it's a challenge for us to handle. Okay, but let's proceed further. If you have any comments or particular remarks you want to make about that, you may do so. But the next question I'd like to ask is, how may anyone recognize when someone when someone is being stigmatized, how would you know that somebody is suffering from stigmatization? That is, a person is being treated like an outcast, as someone who is a misfit, a social misfit, or whatever. When do you know somebody is being treated as a stigmatized person? Welcome, Pastor Ibrahim.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, any of you can take it up.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Let me ask Stephanie. How would you know somebody is being stigmatized because of the sexual orientation? How would you know that this person, is being singled out, as social misfit?
Being left out.
Being left out. The person is being left out.
That's what you mean, right?
Yeah. How would you recognize? How would we know? Because sometimes the issue is that people sometimes claim they are being discriminated or being stigmatized. Okay, that is their claim. But can somebody beside them get to know when this is happening? Because sometimes you are doing it without even knowing.
Yes.
So how would you know this?
Because that's I think when people don't want to. Like, there's two types of people, I think, that I have read also. There is in a culture, people are strong and people are weak.
Yeah.
The people that are strong, that's the people that don't want, they are strong in their beliefs. So they don't want to change very easily. And there's the other type of people that are weak. But weak doesn't mean that they're weak, but they're weak in they try different things. Like some people, when they come to Holland, they have a certain type of culture, and then you come here, and then when you come here, you go to the city, you see a red light, you see, I don't understand that. Why people are doing this? And then you walk a little further, you see a coffee shop. Then you walk a little further, like you see, is that a man or a woman? And so that's, and then you, as somebody that's are strong and you believe, you don't accept that because you have a strong-minded, because back home or in your culture or in your clique, that's not allowed. So that means that you're strong in your beliefs and you don't want to accept. So no, I'm not going to attend, I'm not going to be friends with those type of people. No, I'm not going to go in the cafe and sit down and talk.
Yeah.
No, if I see that girl walking on the red light, I'm not even going to tell her hi. But the people that are weak, okay, they more loosen up, They tell hi, That means that they are ready to have a friendship or a conversation with somebody that is totally different from them. So that's when you can see that somebody is that somebody's being, because as a person, when you are working or you are in an environment that have different type of cultures, you have to be willing to accept other cultures as well.
But do you realize that this sort of openness that we are giving to, let's say, homosexuality and the issues around it, it wasn't there before. That it's something that we are now becoming more open to. We are, as a society, we are accepting. It wasn't really there before. Because I believe that every culture and society from ages past have been more or less consistent. We are pretty similar. There may be little differences, but the beliefs about what is right or wrong, what is acceptable and unacceptable, are pretty much standard across the board.
Yeah.
But these days, it's kind of changing. What do you think?
I think it's the media, and also people are getting more educated than before. Because before, we didn't know the difference between a strong belief and a weak belief. So now, we are getting more educated, and they are learning us more instead of giving us a life pattern.
Yeah.
Because as you can see, like Dr. Phil, I don't want to make a program for Dr. Phil, but he's written a book, and that book is named Life Code. So the book that Reverend Helen gave me as her daughter to go in the world, there's a new book now. So we need to change that book and learn to live those new codes. Because before Reverend Helen learn me as a mother, okay, when you see somebody, tell them hi. If they beat you or if they do something bad to you, still tell them hi. But the new book tells you, okay, you have forgiven that person. That doesn't mean that you need to tell her hi. But before the old book, your mother tells you, yes, you need to do that. Yes, you need to do that. And also the old book shows you that everybody cannot do you harm. So you're gullible in the world. But now the new book, the new code does teach you, be careful with that person. When you cross the street, look twice or 4 or 5 times. When you're passing through that bush, look to see if you can pass like 5 or 10 blocks more further instead of passing there.
Okay, now, but then...
so the new book is teaching us to be more open, to be more aware.
All right, let me just ask you this quick question before I pass.
Okay.
What is your religious background? Are you a believer? Are you a Christian? Or?
Yes, I'm a Roman Catholic.
You're a practicing Catholic?
Yes, I'm practicing Catholic. I'm born Catholic, raised Catholic.
Yeah.
But I'm also believe in other churches too, because it's one Bible.
Oh, you mean you know,
so
Christian
everybody,
beliefs?
yes, everybody is the same Bible. So the Bible that the Christian use, the Bible that the other ones use, they're the same. And uiteindelijk, that they say in Dutch, you know, is just one God, you know, and you can live your life how you want to live it, you know, because it's your life. God has given you the life to live it, but you need to live it good, and there's rules to live it. And you need to see what rules you want to implement in your life to go further.
Okay, thank you very much. Pastor Ibrahim, welcome once again. She's spoken quite well. Maybe you want to add or say something, remark on what she said. But let me give you this question to start with. Taboos and stigmas, do you believe taboos and stigmas are due to our cultural or our religious biases? Are we programmed to? Are we predisposed to, you know, getting biased because of our cultural and our religious upbringing?
I would say both.
Because come again, you say both.
I would say both.
Yeah, because I want you to relate the answer to the issue we're dealing with. We're dealing with, you know, the issue of sexual diversity in the religious community. It's a tough subject we don't want to talk about. We don't even want to touch it. But we are confronted with something in today's world. We got to know how to, you know, handle the whole thing. But do you think that this sort of, you know, do you believe we have a bias in the first place? If we do, is it from our religious upbringing or our cultural upbringing?
Well, basically, both from a religious and from a cultural perspective, you know, there are taboos.
Can you draw your microphone a bit closer or change the other one?
Am I clear now?
Yeah, I think it's better now.
Okay. And like I was saying, I said both from a religious and also from a cultural perspective,
yes,
we have taboos. And then when you talk about it from the cultural, particularly in the context of sexual diversity, particularly in the context of sexual diversity. Now, you look at it from a global perspective, you know, across different cultures, there are different ways by which people respond to sexual matters. And like where I come from in Africa, let me say, by the way, that this issue of sexual diversity in itself is not entirely a new phenomenon. And historically, you know, you go down the line, you know, the issue of homosexuality is not a new thing or a new trend. But attitudes have always been very different. Depending upon the community, the culture, the society.
Yes.
In cultures that are liberal, you find that, I mean, there's some things that pass. And in certain cultures that are conservative. And whether it is liberality or conservatism or whatever, it is not a phenomenon that is restricted to just only one area. Maybe because people are Africans. You go to America, there are cultures, whether it's black or it's white. And you find out that if there is a conservative community, their attitude to such predispositions, you know, becomes a different thing. And I can dare tell you that even in Africa or whatever, depending upon the cultures, you know, if we're going to talk about, you know, sexuality and all that, I can tell you even like in Nigerian community, some of the attitudes that some people have. For instance, when it comes to maybe polygamy or it comes to even polyandry, you know, across across different cultures, there are different attitudes.
Okay.
So by the cultures, there are certain things that are permissible, there are certain things that are taboos. But also if you leave culture, you go religious. Also by religious beliefs, you know, there are certain things that are considered, you know, taboo.
Yeah.
Of course, of late, there are certain revisionism. There are attempts for people to try to redefine and to stretch and to even dilute, you know, the interpretation of what even some of the scriptures say from a religious perspective. But I mean, again, you begin to see the trend where you find conservative, you find liberals, even within the domain of religion. And so again, it comes to the issue of the attitude and the perspective that people bring, take on. Now, there are areas, for instance, where, as an individual, I could consider myself a liberal. There are areas, for instance, that I could consider myself as a conservative.
Okay, so it really depends.
It depends. It depends upon the issue. Okay. And there are several factors that all shape us.
Okay.
You know.
Now, that's totally right. Now, what do you think is your candid opinion about the church's position on this topic? Would you say we are, we're stigmatizing those who have a sexual orientation other than what we consider normal?
Well, I beg to disagree.
We have a taboo about.
I beg to disagree because the language and even the word, I mean, using the word stigmatizing, what does that mean?
Yes.
I mean, because I find with all the issue of gay advocacy and the way it's being pushed down the throat of people, there's a tendency for people to want people to accept certain lifestyles. I mean, that I disagree with a particular lifestyle does not mean I stigmatize it.
Exactly.
I refuse to accept those kind of, nomenclatures and words that people are being used. Because in these days, with the advocacy we see of the right for homosexuality, there is an attempt to make anyone who does not accept that lifestyle to begin to look as if branded as a stigmatizer. And I beg to disagree.
Okay. Now, Stephanie, what do you have to say about Pastor Ibrahim's comment?
I agree a little with him, what he said about stigmatizing, and also I agree that it's you as a person need to accept if you're gonna to accept other behaviors of people. But what I said in the beginning is the people need to get more educated. People are afraid, or people doesn't know very well because they are strong in their beliefs. So they need to get, I think, more educated about the situation, more informed, so pro-education, let's say that as in physiology they say that, and pro-education, so to explain, like maybe a mother has a child and she has a different type of culture, so she doesn't know how she needs to do with that problem. What she do, she wants to go to the church to talk about that problem, and the church has a belief, and then they're going to teach her or educate her that belief. But the world is so big, and the mind of people are so small, so the diversity of the homosexuality and thing, it came more broad. So before it was small, people didn't know much, people didn't know what's that, people didn't know why, they don't understand why, because you're born like that, but why? But there's another thing in the natural mystic, what Bob Marley does sing, you know, because we have to don't forget that the child is born naturally. So the things that are coming into this mind and things, that's a mystic that people doesn't know why, because you keep asking somebody a question, what went wrong with that child behaving like that? So you can think years about that thing. So they need to get more educated, more education, talk more about it, and then it will not happen now, not tomorrow, but in a couple of years, a long time of years.
All right, let me just cut you right here. Bishop Babs, what is your take on what has been?
I think I do agree with my dear brother.
Yes.
Yeah, on the issue, and also partly with our dear sister. Yeah. That it differs with the different cultures and different religions, depending on the norms of discipline of that culture or religion.
Yes.
You see, as much as there is freedom of society, we have freedom of worship.
Yeah.
So that to enforce something on the throat, down the throat of someone, to swallow, is to enslave that individual.
Okay.
You see, and what we Christians do is, because our Bible teaches us to love, because Christ says that even we should love our enemies. We love those who practice homosexual, but we don't love the act.
The act, yes. That's what we are talking about here.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Yes.
if you're listening to this program and you feel like contributing, or you have a question for our panelists, please feel free. Give us a call on 0207371619. Well, I know that one of the things I've become aware of is that it's been said in certain quarters that the church has been close to discussing topics like this, and that means we are predisposed to they're discriminating against people who have a different sexual orientation or treating them as outcasts. I said, well, we can't really accept what is contrary to what we believe. And so they said, well, so what will happen if someone who is a homosexual walks into your church or comes to you for ceremony or whatever? What are you going to do? Are you going to shut them? Are you going to send them away?
No.
So we are confronted with different ways. So I believe that religious leaders, we need to be open to talk about it and to declare our point of view on this matter. And maybe let's be clear that we are not discriminating. We don't intend to discriminate against anyone for that matter. Anyway,
I believe you are trying to push an agenda, and I think that we will.
Which agenda?
No, but you're saying that because nobody forces anything on anyone. Every society has what are its values, and we're saying if somebody has a deviant behavior, I'm sorry, I'm a bit. I take a very strong position. Without apologies. Now, I'm a pastor. I have no problem if somebody, by his own, desires and orientation, has a
different sexual orientation, for example.
Sexual orientation. But the only issue I will have is when you want to promote that in an environment where that is not what we value.
Yes.
Like I said, historically, sexual diversity did not start yesterday.
Yes.
And it will not end today. And over time, different cultures, different society, and even religion have had clear, views and issues. Now, what has been going on lately? Because I must say right now we're becoming a minority. Those of us who hold views that are a bit strong, and we are on the, there's such an onslaught. Just only last week, the COE of Mozilla, one of the online was forced to virtually have to quit his job because he was found to have donated to a cause that was against same-sex. I mean, so it was even like it was an offense for him to have an opinion or to hold a view. So in the context of that, there's such an onslaught that people who have a contrary view that no, this is the way the lifestyle should be. Maybe family should be man and woman. Maybe people should be able to be strict. That is a problem with them, and I beg to disagree. And I really think we need to reverse this onslaught. There's nothing against anybody having any sexual orientation, but in a culture or in a setting where there are certain values, the people, as long as that is private to them, then let it remain there. Bring it into the public domain. And you want to promote that and to want to tell people that that is what should be accepted, then I beg your pardon.
Exactly.
Let me just make a point of correction.
Yes, that's what you stand for.
I'm not promoting any agenda whatsoever. Okay. All I'm trying to do here is to facilitate the discussion.
Okay.
An open discussion, a forum whereby we from the pastoral forum can speak and state our point of view.
Yes.
Those from the LGBT community also are free to state their view. Because what appears to be happening is that there is a kind of a divide, so-called, so we don't probably see eye to eye. But then, I also believe that we as ministers should be open in order to be able to let our counsel be heard, or our opinion be heard on this matter.
Yes.
For example, if somebody who is a sexually diverse person wants to know the Lord, I believe we should be open to talk to them. But when there's a certain perception or attitude about somebody like that, and you don't even want to talk to the person or even approach the person, then that sort of taboo or stigma can be a hindrance to us being preaching the gospel.
Yes.
Like we say, if you're a believer, you're a Christian, you think you're holy, you don't even have to talk to a prostitute because you might be contaminated.
No, we don't do that.
We don't do that.
We don't do that.
Because
but that's their opinion. That's what they think.
That is.
Yes.
I think that there's no way. I'm coming. Let me finish. There's no way somebody who is walking right with God should be afraid of talking to maybe somebody who has a different sexual orientation or who is even a prostitute.
I know gays and I know lesbians.
Let me end up what I've done. But what I do agree with you is that the advocacy, the pushing of the agenda and trying to make it acceptable, I have a problem with that as well. Okay? But we should be open to
talk about it. Yes. And make our stand known. Yes.
When we are having a close mind.
Well, I do have an issue to it.
Okay, go ahead.
It doesn't feature top on our agenda.
No,
yes.
Don't insist that anybody pushes it upon the agenda. We don't have that issue.
Yeah.
If we had that issue, then we would take it on.
Yeah.
But we don't have that issue. So I don't want to make it an issue. Because if we do have it as an issue, then we can put it on the agenda. But for someone to shove it down our throat and make it an agenda, it's bullshit. So I'm sorry I'm on the air, but I'm making this point, but I need to make it as strong as I need to make it.
Yes.
Because I'm very passionate when it comes to this matter. And
not only you, every one of us.
Let it be very, very clear. I love people who have a different sexual orientation.
Yes.
As human beings, they are as human as I am. And nothing reduces anything about them.
Yeah.
And they are entitled to whatever they want to do.
Yes.
But what I refuse to accept is any attempt to want to ensure that becomes,
acceptable.
That it has to be enforced.
Yes.
Just like, I cannot force nobody to do what I want to do.
Exactly.
Nobody should now make it a point that, and in any case, I must dare say, they are no longer in the minority, they are in the majority.
All right. Thank you very
much. We
much.
are beginning to become more of the minority.
No, we can never be minority. Let me say something here. I believe that the media is one of the channels that we must be able to use to make our voices known. Because if it is being assumed that religious leaders are not in support of this and we are stigmatizing them, and then this whole thing is just going all around. I believe that we have to come out as ministers, declare our stand. We do not stigmatize anybody, but what we hate is the attitude and or the act. And nobody have to force anybody to accept what our doctrine says is wrong. So as much as I love you as a human being, if you can just maintain that relationship that way, it's okay. But let's not begin to move into trying to know what your sexual whatever is all about. If that is your desire, then keep it to yourself. By the way, sex is not something we're supposed to be discussing. When I'm having sex with my husband, do I come out and tell everybody he is this and he is that? So why are we not making it so open, like you have to force me to accept that gay is good or lesbian is good. So I believe that the platform is good enough for us to air our view as servants of God, make known to the world that we are not against people like this, but what we do not like is the act.
Okay, thank you very much. Now let me ask, I want to quote here a declaration which was made by the Pentecostal Churches, Council of Churches on the 17th of February. It was issued a public declaration on this very matter. Now let me quote the 7th point, which says this. It says homosexuality is not a disease. God declares in His word that this is a sin. For this matter, laying on of hands in prayer does not apply, and we hereby refer to the passage in James chapter 5, verse 13 to 16. Then it says next, we respect the principle of separation between church and state. Let me leave that for now. It says homosexuality is not a disease. God declares in His word that this is a sin. Okay? Now, I want each one of you to just take a minute or so, just a minute, just to give your reaction on this. First, okay, Stephanie, and then the two ministers.
Like I said, some people are born in sin. So before they...
Everybody is born in sin.
Yeah, some people are born in sin. Sometimes, maybe I'm going to go a little more further. Some family, you know, such very strange things happen to them sometimes, you know. It doesn't happen to you. It doesn't happen to your child, but it happens in generation and generation. So maybe that's the thing that are troubling these people. It's something from generations way back. Because if they're living in a sin, and mother is not gay, father is not gay, aunt is not gay, so something happened in the generation way back.
That's what you believe.
So these people are living into the sins. That's how you can relate it to the chapters, because they are living in a sin. But the people, sometimes when you talk about that, they are in a sin, they say, I'm not in a sin, I never do something wrong, I never rob, I never steal, I never do this. Why you say that? But it's not that, it's the thing that they're born in a sin, so they're born in the family of sinners. So they're the ones that paying for this, I think.
They're diverted.
What is your take on that? Homosexuality is not a disease. God declares in His word it is sin.
Yeah, exactly. That is what we believe in as Christians. I won't talk about being a minister. As Christians, every one of us have to stick to the tenets of our faith. And God says it's sin. It is sin. Because the Bible declares that it is.
Okay.
Because from the beginning, God created man, woman for man.
Yes.
Not man for man. And even in the garden, when God said, I don't see it fit that man should live alone.
He brought a woman.
He did not take even an animal.
No.
A suitor.
He brought a woman.
He made a woman.
Yes.
And not man for man.
What's the problem? I think I know your point of view.
So I should keep quiet. Well, the bottom line is that it's an orientation. That's why it's called sexual orientation. And the question is, there's a choice in the matter. People make a choice, you know, and they're free to make their choice. You know, yes. But God's position is clear.
That's right.
All right. One last question, and then we'll just finish up. I think we'll do very good. Now, as a religious community, does our tolerance of sexual diversity constitute an endorsement of what it entails? If we tolerate, but that is to say, we make our opinion known about it, but I don't know whether the word tolerance is the right thing, but okay, the fact that the state allows it to go on, and we also we are under obligation not to discriminate against them. Are we tolerating it then, and does that make us accept it? I don't know you answer my question.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah, I didn't phrase it about it.
I think tolerance should not be the word.
It shouldn't be the word, yeah.
Because Christ says we should love him our enemies. So we love all people.
Yeah.
We wish they were like us.
But we do not accept what they do that is wrong. Friends are principles.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I guess I used the wrong word there. But
yes,
you understand the point I'm trying to make?
No, you're trying to, what you're bringing up is between tolerance and acceptance. And the issue is that accepting that lifestyle, that's a different. And then tolerance is a bit like no, I wouldn't use the word tolerance. I think we love people regardless of their sexual orientation.
Yeah.
We don't tolerate.
No.
a person with a different sexual orientation.
Yeah.
We love them.
We love them, but we don't tolerate it.
But what is that? We don't endorse,
we don't accept,
accept that lifestyle as one that we promote.
Yes.
You know, but you know, if people decide to go that way, so be it.
Thank you very much. Stephanie, a last word before we go, please.
I think
Make it very brief, just 10 seconds.
Okay, I think people need to be more educated. People that are sitting home with a child that has these problems, we need, as you all reverence, I think you need to come out and give these people a hand, because there's a lot of them sitting at home with these problems. They don't know what's happening.
Is it that we don't know? Now you're saying something very important. Okay, I think we're going to get back to this topic. I want to thank you, gentlemen. First of all, Stephanie Capriles, is that correct?
Yeah, Capriles.
Thank you for being here. It's a pleasure. You've been wonderful. Bishop Simon Babs, thank you for making time out to be here. I appreciate you very much. Pastor Ibrahim, all the way from the other side of town. Thank you. Bosom. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your point of view. God bless you all. In Jesus' name. Have a wonderful week.
All right.
Thank you.